What the is this Vegas Diamond game you were trying to get through the app submission team? Where did this game come from? Did you steal it? It was not in diligence. Trying to publish a stolen game is obviously cause for termination. To understand how I got here, we have to go back to 2015. I helped build one of the most graphically rich mobile slots games on the market. But ironically, it was a no-frills, old Vegas-style slots game that was rocketing up the charts. The idea to create a competing product was thrown around, but we just didn't have enough bandwidth on the team. There was also no telling when this old Vegas-style trend or fad would stop. And if we wanted to compete, then so did our competitors. Here's the funny thing about capitalism. In a free market with minimal regulations, with all else being equal, the freedom of competition forces profits toward zero and often negative. So while we were venture funded, a misallocation of time and money into a new game that fails could very much be the end of the company and everyone's jobs. But if we made a better product in a more efficient way, then the potential of making a bunch of money and growing the company was also a possibility. Everyone wants the benefits of success, but we don't want to die in the process of getting it. So the key is to manage the risk. And we had two main types of risk. First, there's execution risk. Things associated with creating version 1 of the game, like hiring people, being able to effectively manage this larger team, the time it takes to build the game, and things like that. Then there's a market risk. Things like the cost of ads and promotions, the actual size of the market, and the true average revenue per daily active user opposed to what we were hoping to see based on comps. I had an idea that would help reduce the first type of risk and let us make the second game without having to hire any additional people while also reducing the time to market. The main costs would be the initial setup work and the time needed to prove whether my idea was smart and bold or just stupid and reckless. But the big risk of prematurely growing the team was completely avoided, which meant we didn't have to do any layoffs if it didn't work out. Since this was my idea, it was only fair that I would do the initial setup and prove it out, but it had to be a nights and weekends side project since I still had my normal job to do. And we didn't want to distract the rest of the team until I was sure that this idea could work. So this meant I had a secret baby. During this hidden gestation period, we were also in talks to be acquired, but we didn't know if the baby was gonna make it or not, so we just never mentioned it. All anyone knew was that we had one strong flagship product, an amazing team, and general expansion plans. I finally got it all working after the acquisition closed and we were entering the final quarter of the year. Being able to release the game before Christmas would have been amazing. So the time had come to reveal this big secret to the rest of our team. It happened at the next all-hands meeting, and people were understandably shocked. Some were upset at me. Yet, despite how people felt about being kept out of the loop, maybe somewhat lied to, the team came together. We shifted art and design resources to creating old Vegas-style slot games and got it done in just a few weeks. I reached out to our parent company's app submissions team to create a new store listing and in-app purchase items so that Apple and Google could review it. I talked to this team pretty regularly as all app updates went through them. But what I didn't realize is that this specific request would trigger a bunch of internal emails and confusion that led to us being accused of stealing. We, of course, didn't steal anything. We were just a great team. Our parent company was a much larger and slower moving organization, and so making a completely new game in such a short amount of time without growing the team must have seemed impossible. Now, we did forget to loop them in, and this was a new relationship, so I can understand the jump to conclusions. In the end, we explained how we did it, and everything was fine. The game went live in early December, and this once secret baby took its first download onto phones everywhere. Oh, you probably want to know what we did to make this happen. Well, it was a fork. Not this kind of fork, but this kind. And we leveraged our existing systems from the backend to content delivery infrastructure, as well as our highly flexible game architecture and tooling that probably 10x'd productivity. Any core code changes were made in the original game and then merged into the fork as necessary. There were some rules that we followed to avoid conflicts, but that was the big idea. This strategy does have drawbacks, and is something an engineering team would have argued to the death and then killed in a vote. From a business perspective, it minimized risk while providing us exposure to the benefits. Now, from a pure engineering perspective, it may have not been the best move, but when all concerns were considered, it made sense. The world of business is littered with more failures than successes, and this second game was shut down a year later due to a bunch of reasons, including a change in market trends. But we never had to lay anyone off because we never had to expand the team. We just moved all the content to our flagship game as everything was backwards compatible. Here's another story about a failed game and some really angry foul that made it big. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, you can join our Discord, link in the box below.